and welcome to Business Unusual. I am Mona-Lisa Dube, and today I'm speaking to Tinashe Nyamudoka, who is the founder of Kumusha Wines. He's based in South Africa, and he's a sommelier there, and he's going to be telling us more about his journey. Thank you so much, Tinashe, for making time with us.
Thank you, Mona-Lisa, and good to have you here.
Okay, so Tinashe is based in Joburg, but he's speaking to us from Cape Town, where he was attending a wine tasting event, right? What were you doing there, Tinashe? What was happening there? Tell us about that.
I'm actually here because Kumusha Wines is made in South Africa, Western Cape. So I make it in Cape Town. So now and then I come and check on my wines in the barrels. We are about to do some bottling, so we do some pre-tasting before the blending. So okay. And Johannesburg is just the base. That's home, and that's where business is as well. Precisely.
Right. So you're in between Johannesburg and Cape Town.
Yes, exactly.
So how's it going now? I know that South Africa right now is in level 4. I think they call it alert level 4 of the COVID-19 induced lockdown. So how is business? How are you maneuvering around that?
Yeah, it's been, Cape Town is even severely hit even before the lockdowns because it's tourism based. So it's been practically a ghost city. But restaurants are closed. There's no sale of alcohol locally, which is a dent in the business. But luckily for Kumusha Wines, I think the majority of my business is export. I can still send wines to Zimbabwe, to America, to Kenya, to Ghana.
Right.
So I'm not feeling the punch, but as a collective, it's really bad.
Okay, so let's rewind a bit, right? You moved to Cape Town from Zimbabwe in 2008. Okay, let's start the story from there. Walk us through your journey.
Yeah, I left in 2008. Obviously, Zim economy was in tatters. Left for greener pastures. But when I came to Cape Town, obviously, it's a different country altogether. Rules are not the same. Start looking for employment. You get so many hurdles. But Kashori start, I ended up in restaurants, waitering tables, and I was just fortunate that there were wine programs which were in place. So I just started to study about wine and tasting quite a lot and visiting farms in Stellenbosch and networking, and along the way, I was, pointed in the direction of doing wine studies. That's where I started doing my sommelier qualifications. And later on, I turned it into a business qualification. So I worked in different establishments, one and only hotel in Cape Town. I worked for the Test Kitchen restaurant in Cape Town, which is probably one of the best restaurant in Africa and in the world. And I worked also in Durban. And I've been in the industry for more than 10 years now, and always had this entrepreneurial bug in me. So that's why I ended up launching my own Kumusha Wines 2017.
Okay, so prior to moving to Cape Town, prior to this waiting job that you had, did you have any interest in wine at all?
Zero, because I didn't even know. I only knew there was white wine and red wine. So the profession and the curiosity only stemmed when I came here, to be honest. But growing up, we never had wine at a dinner table, So it was really from zero to where I am now.
Let's talk about the importance of, maybe not the importance, let's talk about opportunities as one is going up the ladder in their career, etc. Here you are coming from Zimbabwe, pretty much just looking for a job to survive, and you find yourself in a restaurant, and you then find opportunities, like you're saying, to study and have interest into wines. How important is placing oneself in a certain environment to thrive?
Yeah, I think it's very important. And you say, how important is it to place oneself in an environment? But sometimes you look at it in the way that you end up in an environment which you never thought you are in. But I'm always of the belief that, you don't end up in an environment for no reason. Usually there is a reason you're there, and you need to find it and you need to unlock it. for me, I realized I was waiting jobs, and I knew I wasn't going to wait jobs forever. But there was something which put me in there. And looking back, I think I got there to get experience working with people. I got there to get experience understanding about food and wine. And when I left, I knew all those hallmarks. So it makes it much more easy to sell and taste wine. So I think it's important when you realize the reason you're there. And sometimes it's just a small reason you're there. And I think many people fail to pick that up, and they end up being bored in what they do, end up, just feeling bad about themselves.
So at what point did you actually, what point did the idea of making wine come about? Because you were from waiting tables, like you said, and then now you own a brand of yourself. Yeah. Walk us through the thought process and the process itself of getting to where you are now.
Yeah, so I remember because I got into the industry around 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I was just involved in wine tastings, writing exams and passing. So the time when I was in KwaZulu-Natal in Durban, that's where I almost got the idea about what I wanted to do.
Almost?
But it stemmed out to, so it stemmed out. I remember that time there was this xenophobia around in South Africa. It should be around 2014. And, everyone is saying there's 2 million Zimbabweans in South Africa. They're taking our jobs. And I was looking then, there were Facebook pages coming about, Zimbabweans in Cape Town, 60,000 people, Zimbabwean professionals in Cape Town, 80,000 people. And most of my friends then were starting to start their own businesses. One of my friends was working at a car mechanic, was starting his own mechanic business. My other friend was working in a Pakistani shop, for those phones. He'd started his own practice selling Apple. And I thought I needed something to do, targeting these symbols. So I figured I'm into wine. I might as well come up with a wine brand and sell to these 2 million Zimbabweans. I could make some money. And obviously, Kumusha came about because I knew the Zimbabweans would understand it. So that's when the idea came, but I didn't have the courage and the know-how then to put it in place. So it had to wait 2 years later when I went to business school, UCT Wine Business School. So there I got to understand the whole wine value chain, from production, sales, distribution, retail. And when I came from that program, that's where I really put everything to paper.
I was reading an article about you as I was preparing for this program. And as you were starting off your brand, as it was kicking off, like you said, your target was Zimbabweans. And you were saying that in the article, because there were so many head sommeliers in restaurants, Black sommeliers in restaurants, you were believing that they will support another Black person. But this wasn't the case, was it?
Yeah, it wasn't. It was sad. But I think that's where you start realizing how, you talk about these racial and the post effects of it. I felt they in there, because the way places they were working were white owned and the managers are white, and they kind of felt that, supporting one's brother, maybe it's nepotism or it's not allowed to do that. So I remember even having one conversation with the other sommelier was like, but Tinashe, it's a problem because you used to work here, so I don't want the bosses to feel like, but I'm like, it's actually should be an advantage because I know you and I worked here. So I think for me, it made me realize, it made me look into myself as well, and understand that if I was in the same position, I'll probably be feeling the same way. But yeah, it's one of those realities and something we have to fix, actually.
But it's interesting because just a couple of weeks ago on this same program, I was having a conversation with David Mwanaka. He's a Zimbabwean farmer based in the UK, and he was saying the same issue, saying that you would think that as a Black person, another Black person will support you, especially if you are in a foreign land, right? You're both not from there. So how best do you think that Black people can support each other as a community without feeling bad about it, without being apologetic about it?
I think, first of all, you have to have a quality product or a service. I think it stemmed out from that perception that black is bad. And I knew with Kumusha Wine it was going to be a problem, but I was very sure that the product I was selling was quality standard. Anyway, it could stand with top wines in the world. It will be standard. So I made sure that I had to sell quality. Then you have to change the perceptions, make them taste the product, make them feel the service. And I think with time, they'll support if it's good and if it's black. The problem is, you oversell a black product and the service, then, it disappoints. So I think to get around it is yourself, you have to be sure that you're selling a quality product or a quality service, then back it up with a black face afterwards.
How much of quality is Kumusha Wine? Tell us a bit more about it. Of course, without revealing too much of your secrets, but how did you come up with the brand, and what is in the brand? What sort of products array do you have?
Yeah, obviously the wine, I only got the courage to start the wine when I felt I could produce something which stands into a tasting. So part of what I do is I'm an international wine judge. So we taste wines blind and we rate them accordingly. And I worked in a restaurant and I know how winemaking is. So obviously before I put it in a bottle and sold it, I knew this is a wine which would stand out in any other competition, any restaurant, any bar. And yeah, rightfully so. When the wines came out, the top wine commentators gave it a 5-star rating. Top sommeliers in New York gave it 5-star rating. So the product is actually good. I have 7 wines in my range now. Cabernet Sauvignon, Sauvignon Blanc. I have Chenin Blanc. I've got a Cabernet Sauvignon and a Cinsault blend. I've got my premium one, the Flame Lily, which is a white blend. And the wines are doing phenomenal, everywhere. And it's something which started local and it's gone global, and people are just appreciating it. And obviously the story behind it, Kumusha, I wasn't apologetic that I'm Zimbabwean. And I always say, this is a Zimbabwean Shona word, which means your home, your roots, your origins. And it ties into what I believe, I miss home. Home is always best. And I want that story to be told all over and over again.
This is Business and Usual. I'm Mona-Lisa Dube, and I'm joined by Tinashe Nyamudoka, who is the founder of Kumusha Wines, as he was telling us just now. And I want to talk about how then you managed to penetrate into the market, because obviously you are based in South Africa, and South Africa can be termed as a very one of the most developed countries in Africa, and there's a lot of activity there, a lot of tourists. So therefore, you'd expect very high quality products there, especially in the wine industry. So how did you manage to penetrate into such a competitive market? I want to believe it's very competitive.
Very, very competitive. I think, first of all, branding wise, I was there, story wise. And wine is about wine. It's about storytelling. Everywhere it's about history. So I got that right. And obviously the product was good. And it goes down to networking and, understanding the market, understanding what people want, and some fortune of luck as well. I think especially in the last year where, there's this Black Lives Matter movement, support local. So that really helped me, especially crack into the American market. But I think it's got to do with being ready, having a good product that's ready for the market and backing it up. I'm social everywhere. I'm available. I answer every message. I do wine tastings there. And I think that really helped me get into the markets.
And you are with a restaurant that is ranked, I think, number 44 in the world. That's huge, right?
Yeah, I used to be, but I left. But I think that also helped me around because, being a sommelier in a top restaurant, you almost getting a good stamp of approval for your product. So that really helped on a global view as well.
You spoke about export, right? You spoke about export, and earlier on in the beginning of the program, when we're talking about the impact of the COVID-19, especially in South Africa, where you are currently in the level 4 of the lockdown. You spoke about how you have been managed to stay afloat in exporting. So, tell us about the network. I think earlier on, you also spoke about the importance of networking, which I'm assuming is also one of
Yeah.
the issues that opened up these doors for you. Let's talk about the importance of networking in business and how this has actually helped your business to expand in these regions that you were speaking about.
Yeah, it's definitely, networking creates relationships. And I think, first of all, people sell to people. You have a product, but you have to have a human element in it. So I value relationships more than anything else. And I created a great relationship in America, which opened doors. In Zimbabwe, I've got a great relationship with one of the liquor suppliers who brings my wines into the country, and you foster those relationships, and they build other relationships. They'll point you in the right direction. Or the distributor in America might say, I've got someone who's interested in talking to you in the UK, or you open up in Kenya. So I think it's very important, but people buy from people. So if you're selling any product or service and don't get that human connection, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and how many countries are you currently exporting to?
America, Holland, Kenya, Zimbabwe, soon UK, and probably Nigeria
And
and Ghana.
how well is Kumusha Wines doing in Zimbabwe, you think?
I think the Cabernet Sauvignon is the fastest selling red wine in Zimbabwe at the moment in liquor supply stores. So it's really doing phenomenal. I'm happy. I'm excited that I left Zim with one change of clothes and a backpack full of certificates. Now I'm sending padded loads of wine. So it's amazing. It's really amazing.
How
Yeah.
do you think that, especially now, where I know that in the time that you moved from Zimbabwe in 2008, right? A lot of other Zimbabweans actually moved out of Zimbabwe, seeking greener pastures because of the state of the economy at the time. And in your opinion, and I know that all these people are now, most of them are thriving in their different industries and growing in their different careers. How best can Zimbabweans that are based abroad give back and contribute to the growth of the economy?
Yeah, I think what I'm doing is one way of doing it, because selling my wines there means the retail stores employ people. And even now, when I go back, I'm training the guys about wine. That's adding value to their expertise as well. But I think, it's knowledge that we want, knowledge and opportunities. And I think it was a blessing in disguise that we got displaced, because I wouldn't have known about wine if I was still in Zim. So the only challenge is you have to commit yourself to bring back those knowledge, product or services to Zimbabwe, and kind of integrate and help, and help exchange knowledge. I think that's one thing we lack. It's just information. Sometimes it doesn't have to be financial all the time, that information, or that, even that example that someone can do it outside, and,
Right.
you can come and make it back home. It's really important. And I started this brand, which was Zim focused, which was Zim targeted, but it's gone global. So what's stopping any brand coming from Zimbabwe and going global?
And what is the situation now in South Africa in accepting foreign businesses? Because I know they haven't, you highlighted the issue of xenophobia, and I know that there have been a lot of hashtags on Twitter that we've seen with South Africans saying that puts South Africans first, etc. So how is it now with your business and how you're faring? Are people in that part of the world, in South Africa, accepting you as a Zimbabwean doing business there?
Well, it doesn't start to be good, man. And the honest truth is there is high unemployment rate in South Africa, and you're putting pressure coming as foreigners. But I honestly feel, and what I'm championing with Kumusha Wines is to show that, we can work together, we can create opportunities, and I'm already employing South Africans in my business here. So I think you get accepted in the end, but you gotta earn it, and you gotta show that you bringing possibilities and creating employment and opportunities. Now I'm exporting wines who's benefiting in South Africa as well. So it's still there. It's still a touchy subject. It's gonna be forever anyway. But everywhere in the world is the same. So, but we're changing perceptions, and hopefully it can go a long way.
And one thing that I really found interesting about your story as you were telling us about it, as I was reading about it, is that in as much as you were in this field and you had your entrepreneur ambitions, you also were deliberate about adding some education into what we're doing. So, how do people strike the balance? Because I know that there's some instances where people have gone full on to be businessmen without even needing some bit of education, but this wasn't the case for you. So, how do you strike the balance between getting a decent education and advancing your craft as well as being a business person?
Yeah, I think it pushes you, man. I needed to know, I needed the knowledge, and sometimes it's you can learn by experience, but you need to find knowledge in books, in school, and for me, it's important. I want to know what I'm doing, and I want it on pen and paper. So there's nothing wrong in furthering your education, especially if you're doing business. Because as a business person, I'm not strong financially, but I'm strong maybe sales and marketing. But you need to find that balance. I need to go to an accounting school to at least have an understanding so that you can run your business well. So finding the balance is how much you want to learn and how much you want to further and grow your business. I think usually you limit yourself in saying everything, then you're not going to grow. But if you learn more and study more, I feel you get much more valuable information to grow your business.
And also, what I found interesting from your story, Tinashe, is that making wine was part of a project that you were doing for, I think it was a diploma that you were studying. And you know how most students go through university just to go through university. If it's a dissertation, you just do it just because you expect to do it, or if it's a practical, or if it's attachment, etc. So why is it for you that you actually decided to take this as a career path or as a business opportunity? Maybe you can share a few nuggets with young people.
Yeah, actually, initially I was studying accounting. So I dropped out of my accounting degree with 4 modules to go. And I realized in the end, I wasn't going to be an accountant. I wasn't enjoying it. I could pass, but I didn't see myself spending 9 to 5 on a spreadsheet. And I had to make a decision, like, I'm not doing accounting. I'm just going to do wine. And this is what I love. This is what I can sell. Then I made that decision. And even up to now, people say you should finish the accounting degree. I'm like, you know what? It's not going to help me in any bit. But I think for the young kids, it's important to understand what you're good at it and what you want in life. And that thing of saying, if you leave it, there's no, I think most of the challenge we're having is people think there is not enough time. I'm 36 years now, maybe in 10 years time, we'll be talking that Tinashe was making wines and I'll be doing something, maybe clothing. But I think young people feel that if they're put on a path and they're doing this degree, if they don't finish it, it's the end of their life. Whereas you can finish it, you might not finish it, but it's not too late to start something you enjoy and something which can be even better than what you're doing.
Absolutely right. I mean, young people are racing against time for one reason or the other. So, what sort of business advice could you give to someone who is, especially operating in the Zimbabwean context, in the Zimbabwean economy? One might argue that you were thriving because you are in South Africa and you had these opportunities given to you or exposed to you based on where you were. So, what sort of business advice would you give to someone looking to have a thriving business in the Zimbabwean context?
Yeah, I think first of all, man, is to understand why you're doing it. If there's no why reason, it's difficult to get motivated and to stick it through when times are tough. And usually money is not at the forefront. It's either you're making a difference, it's either you championing something you believe in, and you gotta have to be patient because it's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be riding through. But if you don't have a strong why, you're not gonna, in any environment whatsoever, you're not gonna thrive. But patience is one game. Understanding what you're doing, your vision, where you want to go through, and yeah, just networking, talking about it, and and most people will say financing, but I think financing is the least of your problems. If you got a concrete plan, if you got a vision, you're still gonna work it through as long as you're patient.
You speak very much about patience, right? I'm curious to know, when you started your business in wine making, when you started off Kumusha, at what point did you actually start seeing the profit margins make sense?
Well, I started in 2017, and I only started to get paid just a few months ago.
Wow.
So it's one of the realities that people don't understand, but it's tough. My challenge has been because the business has been growing, so I need more capital to produce. 2017, I was only making 1,200 bottles. Now I'm making more than 200,000 bottles. So that's a huge capital overlay. It's up on your working capital. So now you have to supplement with doing other jobs while this thing is still growing and growing. So it takes time. And I think for a normal business, if you really building something of a legacy, first 3 years, don't expect to get anything. Maybe first year, second year, third year. And some businesses, if you're reading, is up to 5 years before they start really getting tangible stuff. So yeah, that's why I mean patience has to be there. It might look rosy, and it has to look rosy, but there is a lot which goes around behind the scenes.
But it is paying off now, right?
Yeah, it has to. Not even financially, but personally, as a human growth, there's nothing so fulfilling seeing someone in New Jersey, New York, Nairobi, or being in Accra or in Harare sending me a picture enjoying Kumusha Wine. That's the beauty about it. Money can't buy you that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tinashe Nyamudoka. He is the founder of Kumusha Wines. Appreciate your time with us today. When are we seeing you in Zim? I know that there are COVID restrictions, etc., but are you going to plan to be home anytime soon?
Yeah, August, I'm planning a trip to Zim. So yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully I can come and toast it ZiFM.
Absolutely. Looking forward to having you. Enjoy the rest of your stay in Cape Town. Looking forward to seeing you, Tinashe.
Awesome. Thank you.